Yes, guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go straight into it. Going to be talking about a bit of a nuanced one today, and that is carbohydrates. Now, a lot of people demonize carbohydrates, and I can see why, because they're totally misused in the modern day and age. And a lot of people get addicted to carbohydrates because they are sugar. They're different forms of sugar depending on which carbohydrates we're talking about, but they are still sugar. Your body processes them differently. You've probably heard like complex, simple, you know all that. But today we're going to be delving into a little bit of nuance as to why certain things will be better for certain people and certain things will be better for others, because it depends entirely what your goals are, what issues you're dealing with, and anything you want to reverse or get better with. So yeah, we're going to be delving straight into that today. I'm going to be starting off with sort of like the pros element, because I believe people should be having carbs, to be honest with you, and most people. So yeah, we're going to go straight into it. The first pro, I'd say, is anybody in the world that's doing high intensity training should be taking carbohydrates or eating carbohydrates. I think carbohydrates are so beneficial for your workouts. They fuel me, and I think I've never done this. I've never done like carnivore diet, keto diet, or anything like that. I've come very close. I have stripped down my carbohydrates quite a lot when I'm trying to cut very vigorously, but I've never completely cut them out, and that's because I train exceptionally hard in the gym, for one, and two, I've never felt like I've had to, and I feel like there would be more issues for me as an individual than actual help from it, to be honest with you. So yeah, carbohydrates, the point is carbohydrates fuel your high intensity workouts, or your anaerobic movements, whatever you want to call them, your sprints, your squats, your deadlifts, your weight sessions, that kind of thing. Fat is more like running, low intensity, that kind of thing, walking, and that's why steps are really good for anybody that wants to lose fat a lot of the time. Yeah, another thing is it depends on the type of carb, like I just said, simple versus complex. Now, I'd say like the best carbs in my opinion are fruit, ideally organic, but fruit, sweet potato, white rice, white potato, and that's what I'd say are like the main categories, if you want to put it like that. In many like Western countries and a few other countries, a lot of our wheat's very poorly raised, so I try to avoid that as much as possible. But if you can get like gluten-free stuff, or like sourdough bread that's really high quality or homemade, that can still be quite good. Well, that was a fly. That can still be quite good, but it depends on the quality of the produce, etc. If you go to a place like Italy, for example, their wheat will be very good, and you can feel, your glycogen can be replenished, but you won't have that bloated feeling. You won't feel like your gut's been absolutely torn apart. So, yeah, that's another thing about it. But yeah, so those are my favourite carbohydrates. Now, a lot of people, when it comes to carbs, they're eating simple carbs, but processed forms of simple carbs. So like processed sugar and sugars that they don't even realise are in their food as well. Like some stores have like brown sugar on chicken, that kind of thing. And it can really have a detriment and a bad effect on your health and how you think and function throughout the day and how you look. It can give you so many different problems. Like so many people are pre-diabetic nowadays. They have all these different issues they don't even realise. They're getting Alzheimer's, which some people have called type 3 diabetes. I don't know, but I'm just naming that. Well, obviously being overweight and obese, getting heart problems, stroke, and a lot of these things have been linked to an increase in triglycerides, which are blood sugar. And it makes you wonder, like, people are eating a lot more processed foods, which obviously have these addictive substances and sugars in, that those sorts of carbs are obviously a detriment and obviously aren't very good for you. Carbs can also reduce stress, which is great. They can reduce stress, and I believe they can improve thyroid function as well. There's a lot of benefits. It depends on the type of carbs. Like a lot of fruit juices, like actual natural unpasteurized fruit juices, can be very helpful towards people in fueling their workouts, and they have a lot of micronutrients, these fruit juices as well. I'm not talking about like processed fruit juices in like plastic bottles and like artificial stuff. I'm talking literally straight out of an orange, freshly squeezed. That's nature's candy, sweets, whatever you want to call it, wherever you're from. But those sorts of carbs can be really helpful, and they have so many different benefits. Like, there's a compound in orange juice which can reduce the amount of microplastics inside of your body, which is obviously a big problem nowadays and a big issue. So they have all these different little benefits that can help you. They have lots of electrolytes, natural electrolytes, that replenish you when you've sweated a lot in your workouts and you've lost a lot of magnesium, potassium, that kind of thing. And those sorts of things can be really helpful. Now, the cons are people overeat carbs, or they make them too much a part of their diet, and the majority of the world is, in the modern day and age, sitting at a desk. So they're not using, or say if they're sitting at a desk and they're not working out and they're not walking, that adds up, and they're eating a lot of carbohydrates. They're not going to be able to, one, burn those calories off, and two, utilize the carbohydrates effectively because they're not training. So it depends on it depends entirely on who you are. If you're an NFL athlete, you're going to be having a lot of carbs. If you're a person who literally just sits down all day for their job, and they don't need a lot of carbs, do they? So it's entirely dependent on the type of person you are, and what you're doing in particular. Now, I believe that the majority of people, as I said before, should be having carbohydrates, because, as I say, they're very useful, and a lot of people are quite active. I think certain diets, like carnivore, keto, can be helpful for some people. Like, I know someone who has epilepsy. Keto diet helps them with their epilepsy. I know people, I've seen people that have autoimmune diseases. I have eczema, and I believe the carnivore diet can be a really good reset for eczema a lot of the time, because it resets the gut and it doesn't provide it with any inflammation, because just animal proteins and fats as like a reset for your gut can be really good. So it depends entirely on the situation. I'm not saying about that long term, but those diets long term, but it seems to work for some people in certain scenarios, is what I'm saying. And a lot of people are consuming carbs they don't even realize they're consuming. That's a lot of the problem, to be honest. But carbs fuel sport. So I'm quite a big advocate of carbs in the correct amount for the correct person with the right background and right issue. If they haven't got any issues or anything like that. I don't see the point in, there's a lot of negativity around carbs and desserts and that kind of, like, desserts are completely different from some sweet potato with your grilled chicken. Like, I'm not saying people can't have desserts, of course they can. I've had desserts, I have desserts, but like, again, like, a one-off is not a habit. Like, my whole thing is about creating sustainable habits and strategies that people can actually use over time. People aren't going to count calories for the rest of their life. They're just not. Do you think people that are healthiest people in the world, in Italy, are counting calories? No, they're not. Now, a lot of people will disagree with me on that. That's fine. That's how the world works. But yeah, there's a lot of different types of carbs, and you should be utilizing them to your best ability. I'd say the more like healthy carbs you can have, like I named before, the better to your weight and how much you're exercising. I'd say how much you're exercising, how much you're moving, and what type of issues you're having health-wise. If you're pre-diabetic, you probably shouldn't be eating any processed carbs or sugar. Simple, because that's what's the thing that's caused you to be in that position. So you want to dial back on that, and you want to gradually cut down your carb intake and see the effect it has on you, which will most likely be a positive one. Now, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a specialist, don't quote me on anything like that, but I know I've done a lot of research. I know what works. I know it works for me personally. I'm talking from my personal experience and seeing others with their personal experiences. I believe that it depends on the type of person. So yeah, carbohydrates are great if you're the right person and you're eating them in the correct amounts. Don't get fear-mongered by it, but at the same time, be smart, be clever, have a not a strategy, but you know what I mean. Have kind of plan if you're trying to get somewhere with them. I like to plan them because I like to stay quite lean. I'll tell you what I do. I time them before my workouts and after my workouts. So I'll eat carbs before my workout in a meal, or have some fruit, or have some rice, or whatever. And then what I'll do is I'll have some carbs after as well. And I won't get up and eat carbs really. I'll have some juice maybe, like I said, like fruit juices, that kind of thing. But in the morning, like protein and fats is all you need. And it gives you that extra bit of focus and clarity in your mind, because obviously carbohydrates make your insulin go up. Insulin's a massive thing. That's why most people are overweight nowadays. They're eating too often and they're eating too many carbs. Your insulin goes up, and that's the links to the diabetes, the type 2 diabetes. But yeah, your insulin goes up and you feel that kind of like that. You feel very tired, very sleepy, very lethargic, and that kind of thing. So yeah, timing them's perfect. Having them with protein as well helps blunt that spike. And certain things have more of a spike than others, of course. Like I'm saying, the simple ones will spike you more than the complex ones, because the complex ones gradually do it over time. But yeah, hope you guys all enjoyed that video. I hope it was informative, and I shall see you later.